today on Thrive Loud.
By traveling outside of New York, I meet amazing people who do amazing things and live a bit differently, and I actually learn a lot from them.
Now I'm getting really excited. Okay, this is the part where I'm going to get loud.
Holy crap, here we go.
I like telling stories.
I learn best through experiences.
Everything I do is because of everything I did.
Talk about having maximum impact while having a ton of fun.
When you can net through that, what you do leave behind for your listener will have more impact.
Wow, bring it on.
It's time to take an inside look at those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. Today on Thrive Loud, we bring you chef, spice blender, and entrepreneur. His biscuit and spice shop in New York City, La Boîte, has been featured in numerous publications, including the New York Times, Vogue, InStyle Magazine, Every Day with Rachel Ray, Food and Wine Magazine, and the SAVEUR 100. He is also an author, out with his second cookbook, The Spice Companion, a guide to the world of spices. The spice master himself, Lior Lev Sercarz. Welcome to Thrive Loud.
Thanks for having me.
Well, this is kind of an honor, actually. You're sort of a legend onto yourself here in New York and have a great story that I know the Thrive Loud listeners will appreciate. We love the entrepreneurial journey. We also love people that follow their passions, and I think this is exactly what you fit into, which is why it's going to be a great episode. So, Lior, if you could, walk us through a little bit of your journey and how you got to where you are today and how this has become what you do, being the spice blender.
I was born and raised in Israel. Nobody in the family has any connection to the culinary world. I discovered this passion a little later in life as a teenager, and then decided to make it a profession in my early 20s after my military service. And only later on joined the Paul Bocuse Institute in Lyon, France, which is a 2-year program that not only teaches cooking, but also aspects of management from accounting and nutrition, and stayed 5 years total in France before moving to New York in 2002. Joined the kitchen of Daniel Boulud at Restaurant Daniel. And after 6 amazing years with Daniel, decided to kind of go on my own, and realizing that opening a restaurant wasn't something that I wanted to do. Yet I wanted to try and revive the idea of spice trading to all of its complexity. So obviously selling spices and blending spices, but at the same time really reconnecting with farmers and understanding that the growing process, the trade, the import, the export, and basically opened La Boîte 11 years ago out of my basement apartment with one client, to the point that 11 years later we're in a storefront in Hell's Kitchen with a nice clientele of over 200 professionals all over the world, from chefs, bartenders, chocolate makers, beer brewers, distillers, and so on, as well as many home cooks who enjoy both the single spices and the spice blends that we prepare here.
So I have a question jumping in here, and that is, what specifically, look, chefs can all be focused on certain types of cuisines and food. What is it specifically that spices connect to you?
Well, I think it's one of the most basic things that you need, because whether you're a home cook or a chef, when you buy a piece of meat, fish, or salad, it doesn't come seasoned. So there is the need to season it with something. Unfortunately, most people, chefs included, have no idea what they're using on a daily basis when it comes to seasoning, which is spices. And my goal is to educate them and to show them different quality, different sources, so that their food and beverage could just taste better.
So I love it as we have New York City at its best right now with with sirens going by. So here's a good question, Lior. You have this expertise of spices. How do you help people better understand the specifics of all the different spices out there? I'll be honest. When I'm eating something, I have no idea half the time what I'm eating, and even if from one is very close to another. Is there a certain way that how do you help educate other chefs and other people by really digging into the spices and help them understand it?
So the first thing we usually do is it's a sort of an intervention, and I usually ask them to show me the spices that they have in their home kitchen or in their restaurants, and force them in a very good way to open these containers and start smelling and tasting and describe to me what it is that they're smelling and tasting. If they're unable to smell or taste anything, it's usually something very old and bad, so that goes to the trash. But it's really develop a vocabulary which we are all lacking when it comes to describing scent and flavor, generally speaking, for food. We usually say I like it or I don't like it, but we're unable to say why it is and what we detect. And that's something that I work really hard on. And then really get them to taste the spices as is. You don't have to eat a half pound of a spice. You just need to taste a little bit of it so that if it's acidic, if it's sour, if it's bitter, if it's hot, etc. So that when you are going to start cooking, you're not going to be gambling with your food. You're actually going to add a seasoning that makes sense from a flavor perspective.
This is a good question that I've had, and I dibble and dabble in cooking. My wife is way better than I am. The question I have, though, when it comes to spices, and a lot of the cuisines that we have out there, there's a lot of fusion type food, different types of cuisines mixed together. Are we overspicing our food? Are we making it too complicating it and mixing too many together? Or do we need to get back to something that's a little bit more focused on maybe just a few of the spices?
I think that I don't know that if there are too many. I think that because people aren't aware of what it is that they're using, they can sometimes add things randomly, and it can become overcomplicated. I think that one of the key things is to cook what you are good at and what you like to eat, and master those recipes, and then start adding a few different seasoning and see how they become different and much more interesting. And I am all, instead of doing the fusion thing, I'm all about infusing things. So it's bringing things into your familiar dishes that you like to do and to make, and just giving them a little different taste and flavor each time, inspired by a different place, a different country. The idea of just throwing a whole bunch of spices into a dish, it's usually a bad one. And I think you could very well get away with just having 4, 5, or 6 different spices in your kitchen and still make amazing, delicious food.
So now I have a good question. You talk about reconnecting with the farmers. And obviously there are certain spices that only grow in certain parts of the world. Or is that not true? Is our spices being able to be grown and developed all over the world, and just bringing those pieces together? A little education for us who are not as knowledgeable as you are in this particular area.
So for the most part, countries that grow spices are countries that consume a lot of spices, and also the climate is favorable. However, there are quite a few spices that could grow easily everywhere. They'll just taste, smell, or look a little bit different. It's not a matter of good or bad. They'll be different. And one of my main goals is to one day have more spices growing domestically, so that we have faster access to great quality product. We have more control over what's being done. It's hard for me to supervise harvesting in an island in Indonesia where it takes about 3 weeks to get there. And it's true that some of the spices, I don't know that one day we will be able to grow everywhere just because of climate and terroir. But there's quite a substantial number of spices that can be grown anywhere. It's just a matter of awareness and demand. Ironically, the US being the biggest consumer of spices globally, yet nothing grows in this country, or barely nothing. Wow. So I think there's great potential economically and from an agriculture standpoint and culture, and the same way that we all want to run to the green market and meet our favorite farmer that grows our produce or protein. There's no reason why there wouldn't be a function for spice growers.
Does your work take you and make you travel to lots of places, obviously, to access a lot of the different spices around the world? Have you been just about everywhere, I guess, is the question I'm asking.
So ironically or sadly or unfortunately, I don't know, however you want to call it, I have not. I've been to quite a few places, but there are some limits, budget-wise, time-wise, and logistics to get to all of these remote places. The good news about modern trading is that with the help of some technology and communication, I'm able to source ingredients from all over the world quite easily and get them here pretty fast. It's less poetic than wearing a straw hat and taking a cane and going out there. But at the end of the day, it makes my life easier, and I'm able to know what's happening around the globe without necessarily leaving my storefront here in Hell's Kitchen.
No, definitely. Let's shift a little bit. Obviously, you writing a cookbook is a whole big process in itself. And I was going to ask this because it's so much content and so specific. And one of the things that we'll have a link on the show notes so that people can click and know how to buy the book. And you can go in there. There are phenomenal pictures and descriptions within it. How long did it take to prepare the Spice Companion? Because it's a Bible of spices for us to read.
Thank you. Thank you. It's obviously it took a few years in my mind to get enough knowledge and experience to write it. The actual writing and research, which I've done together with my writer, Jamie Gottlieb, which was a crucial member of this team and did a lot of research with me. It took about 8 to 10 months of actual writing and research. I did the photography myself with Thomas Schauer, the photographer. And what we really wanted to do is show people first and foremost what the plant looks like. A lot of people know of cumin and cinnamon and coriander, yet they have no idea if it grows above ground, underground, in the water, which to me seems a bit strange. And we just found out that there was no good source of images. So we just took it upon ourselves. I commissioned a woman by the name of Nadine Westcott, who is an illustrator, to make these 102 beautiful botanical illustrations of the plants. And we did the shots of these dry spices. It was a great fun project. All in all, it took about 2 years from idea until the first copy landed here. But that's just the way the publishing world works. My first book was self-published, and it only took us 7 months to do it. And the good recent news is that I am starting to work on book number 3, which hopefully will be out in the fall of 19. So that's exciting.
And is that book also going to be focused on spices, or what's the lean on that book? What's the focus on that one?
So the focus on that book is it's a cookbook that will show people at home how they can easily master a handful of great recipes, savory, sweet snacks, beverages, master the technique, and then how by just changing the seasoning, the spices in that recipe, it becomes something completely different.
Right. That's great. What I love about the book, by the way, is for those that have a chance to look at this, at the back of the book in the index, they have this icon, and there's icons for all the different types of things that you could use the spices for, whether it's, for deer, desserts, dressing, drink, duck, vegetables, eggs, etc. And there's a little icon. It is very simple to understand and what you could do. It's you've made something that is more about the raw ingredients, but all the things that could go to, and that's kind of cool. So it's like a cookbook flipped on its head, really. Instead of the recipe, you've gone to the raw root of it, and the photography is impressive, by the way. So good job.
Thank you so much.
Excellent stuff.
Thank you.
We'll make sure everyone gets a chance to look at all this. So let's jump back a little bit. As as an entrepreneur and now having for 11 years, this wonderful location that you have in New York City, the Biscuit and Spice Shop, La Boîte, how has it been from running that? Do you enjoy that with the same passion that you have for spices each and every day and running the business?
So I actually do enjoy a lot. And when I talk to people who want to start their own business and do that, and I'm in a position today where I can share some of my experience, I really enjoy every single aspect of running this business. It's the creativity and the spices and the cooking and the cookies, but I enjoy as much speaking with my attorney and accountant and looking at my accounting software and the P&L and understanding what it takes to get a good business going without taking any of the fun and creativity. I really enjoy all of these aspects.
I like it, and it's great, and it's really funny. You could see the quality of your work just from the store, but also from the book is pretty impressive, and I imagine that's what's made this business so successful. Lior, when you have trouble thriving personally and you're having an off day, who do you turn to personally to get you back on the thriving track?
I have a lot of conversations with my wife, generally speaking, but also in terms of business and work, since she comes from a completely different background and work, and we really have a complete different vision about life, I should say, in many ways, but in a very good way. And I often am challenged with a few things, and with those conversations, I find myself coming up with the answers, or she would come up with something that I would never think about. Whether I do it or not, it's a different question, but at least it puts me back in perspective. I think that I am so into what I do every day, and instead of consulting somebody that's similar to myself, I often like to go outside of my zone, or I should say my comfort zone, but my everyday activity, and just get a different perspective. Whether I agree with it or do it, I don't know, but at least it allows me to go back to my work and continue working. Great.
I like it. Behind every great man is a much greater woman. So Lior, here's a good question. You've been doing a lot of speaking. You've been going out, obviously, not only promoting the book, but talking about spices. Tell me what you love about doing that and some of the things that you do in your message and deliver, because it's a little different than what most typical speakers go and chat about.
I think the first couple of experiences were obviously pretty intimidating. My first, I think, big speaking gig was in front of the American Spice Trade Association, which was scary, really scary. I mean, talking to people who have been doing it for a very long time. And I mean, over the years, it really helped me to explain to myself what it is that I'm doing, do a lot more research, and understand that what I take for granted isn't necessarily obvious for a lot of people. And primarily is how do I approach different people and different crowd, because obviously not everybody is interested in the same aspects. And I think that still is a great challenge and exercise for me in the most positive way when I prepare myself to go and speak with a group of people, small, large, young, or older, is to really understand. And also the fact that, we live in New York and we think that this is the best thing that happened to this planet. But by traveling outside of New York, I meet amazing people who do amazing things and live a bit differently. And I actually learn a lot from them while I'm there. So as much as I speak, I love to listen to what other people have to say.
It's great stuff, and thanks for sharing that. Okay, so anyone that wants to come to New York City, give us all the plugs here. Lior, tell us where they could find La Boîte, and obviously all the places online that we could learn more about you. This is a chance for you to plug away and get people to show up at the Spice Shop and also get the book.
Super, yeah. So if you are in New York, do come and see us. So La Boîte is located at 724 11th Avenue between 51st and 52nd. We are here Monday to Friday from 10 to 7. We are not here on the weekends. However, laboiteny.com operates 24/7 year-round. So everything that we do is available on the website for purchase. There's a lot of reading information. The Spice Companion, which is the recent book, is available there. The Art of Blending Cookbook, which was the first one, is also available there. And the website also features an event calendar with all of the dinners that I do, classes, speaking events, so that even if you're not in New York, chances are that I might be visiting your town or a place near you at least.
Great. Excellent stuff. And now I'm very curious about this answer, but Lior, your all-time favorite movie?
I think, as weird as it sounds, and I've seen a few movies in my life, the one that I keep on going to is The Blues Brothers. It was my first childhood memories of I've seen it in a movie theater, and when I told it to my kids, they said, "How old are you?" So I love this movie. There's something about, it's not the best acting that was ever done in front of a camera, but there's something about the music that I am connected to. There's everything about it that it just makes me happy, and I think that's why I keep on going to watch our movie again and again.
Now, I asked this question to all the Thrive Loud guests, Lior, and I was actually surprised that it wasn't The 100-Foot Journey. I don't know if you've seen this movie.
I have, and we can off the air we can talk about this movie, but I think it's great, and I like Helen Mirren. I think she's in that movie and everything. It's hard for me sometimes to watch movies about what I do, and a lot of the cooking movies that are out there or spice related, some better than others. I like that movie a lot. I think the story is great and it really exposed to us, but unfortunately, perhaps not my first pick.
Understood, but it is a good one. I get hungry watching that movie, specifically when they make an omelet.
Yes,
but otherwise, it's quite a good flick. But I do. Hey, The Blues Brothers is a classic, and
that. Or if I had to pick a culinary movie, I would say Babette's Feast would be the one to go to.
Just an interesting trivia point about the Blues Brothers, that huge police car pileup scene that really took place. The city of Chicago and the state of Illinois were replacing the police cars of in Illinois, and they just took all the old ones and piled them all up in that scene. So I thought that was a pretty fun stuff. Anyway, Lior Lev Sercarz, this was a lot of fun. Thank you for sharing all the spices of life and all the things you do, and it's great to have you on Thrive Loud.
Thanks for having me.
Got you. And to all the Thrive Loud listeners out there, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Make sure to subscribe on iTunes, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. And follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Thrive Loud. Or find us on the web at thriveloud.com.